I just did a quick news search for metal detecting, and there's over 1,000 recent articles about metal detecting. So here's one about a guy in Utah, and just last year he found 56 silver rings, 2 gold rings, a gun, a toy car, more than 6,000 coins, a handful of bullets, and 1 pocket watch. He lives over in Provo, Utah, having a great time doing his treasure hunting. Here's one that I mentioned earlier. An amateur with a metal detector finds a 1,600-year-old royal ring. This is a gold ring that possibly belonged to the King of France 1,600 years ago. It's got a sapphire in the center, and they just got done doing an analysis of it. He actually found it in 2009, and I don't believe that they announced it at the time. But the Yorkshire Museum actually put together some money and bought this ring from him. So anyways, you can find just about anything. It depends on where you're at, what kind of quality of finds you will get. If you're lucky enough to live in Victoria, Australia, Arizona, and I've heard South Pass, Wyoming are putting out some nuggets. So whatever those sizes are, you get your detector set up right, and the one I use is a Minelab Explorer SE Pro. Now, it's a great all-around detector because I want to be able to find a little bit of everything. I'm not just focusing after gold nuggets, because anything that's close enough to have a nugget of gold is probably 2 to 3 hours away from me, and covered in snow probably 9 months or more out of the year. So I wanted to be able to detect old homestead locations, old parks, the Boy Scout camp, things like that. Here's one where a 150-year-old Civil War identification tag was found. This actually was found during the 2013 Grand National Relic Shootout near Richmond, Virginia back in March. And it was the identification tag of John W. Brandt, a Union soldier. And the gentleman that found it is out of Ohio, and he was working with Team Technetics. Now, there's certain major brands, just like anything, you can spend as little or as much money. You can drive the Ford or the Chevy, it really doesn't matter. But you can get any style metal detector, and they're all going to do pretty much the same thing. Now, they're going to set up a little bit different. Some are going to work better in certain places, like in Ballarat. They almost exclusively use Minelabs because of how mineralized their ground is. To be able to find those gold nuggets, they've got to be able to discriminate between just highly mineralized ground, and that's ground that's got some iron and some other things in it that just shade and cloud your detecting to be able to get those gold nuggets. But Mr. Reese was hunting. He has been metal detecting since about 6 years old, when his dad George introduced him to the hobby. So that's fantastic. And this one is actually made of silver, which I guess most of the identification tags in the Civil War, dog tags if you will, were made of brass. But this guy had a silver one, and he was out of Albany, New York. He was south of the Mason-Dixon, doing some fighting there in Richmond. And he did some research into the guy. He enlisted in 1861 at the age of 27, and he lost his leg in 1863, and he stayed in the Army until 1866. So, I mean, you're finding that history, that what has come before and what's coming after. Things that we drop today, guys are going to be finding with metal detectors years from now. Now, the clad coins aren't going to be worth just a whole lot, because actually they're worth more now if you melt them down and sell them for scrap metal than the dollars and cents. But yeah, that's for another episode, where we'll talk about the gold standard and what's going on with our currency getting destroyed. But the lost is found. Here's one where, guys, there's another Morgan dollar from 1909. But these guys are metal detecting in Sioux. This is the Siouxland Metal Detecting and Archaeology Club. So you can get together with other guys that are doing what you like to do, and no matter where you are in the world, you can do this. You can be looking for those old rings from the Celts and everything else over in England and Europe. Or if you're here in the States, the gold and silver coins from Union armies and battles and things. Just, get out there and find something. Here's word of caution. make sure you know your local rules and regulations. Here's one where city councils are tightening park rules involving metal detectors. So make sure that wherever you're detecting, you're following those rules and regulations, and be a good neighbor. Fill in all your holes that you're digging. Don't dig a 2-foot wide hole when you can dig a smaller one to get your target out. And that takes a little bit of time and practice to do, but get out there, get started. And then here's one: Virginia relic hunters warned to steer clear of national parks. That's one thing you do not want to metal detect on a national park, or some national recreation areas do not allow them. In fact, Jorge in New Jersey, when I was doing the research for him, I found a fantastic spot that had towns and other things from the 1600s. But guess what? That area was condemned back in the 60s. They were going to build a dam along the river, but that project fell through. They actually tore down these buildings and left the foundations and everything, but it's now a national recreation area, so you're not allowed to detect on it. I don't even think you can possess a detector on there. So Jorge's just gonna walk around there with his eyes, just to see, okay, what's the foundations